Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Hex.
And I'm Badger.
And this week we kick things off with the latest FIFA game developed to coincide with the greatest sporting event on the planet, the World Cup.
And kart racing meets user-generated content with ModNation Racers.
In our quest to meet Australia's best gamers, we travel to Adelaide to meet our National Guitar Hero champion. But first, can you guess the game for this week?
Don't take any unnecessary risks.
It's time to read the news.
I'll just finish this song.
Finish the song and get up and go. 100%.
Good game.
Activision can't quite stay out of the news lately. In the wake of the Infinity Ward incident, the publisher has signed Bungie to a massive 10-year deal. Bungie, the studio behind the blockbuster Halo series of first-person shooters, will be creating an all-new multi-platform IP to be published by Activision worldwide. Under the terms of the deal, Bungie will own and have full creative control over the intellectual property. Activision's holding company is Activision Blizzard, and 10 years is a very long time for a deal, so dare we say it, Bungie and Blizzard sitting in a tree, MMO, RPG. Ron Gilbert, the creator of the Monkey Island series, has entered into a war of words with Roger Ebert. Appalled at the film critics' dismissal of games as an art form, Gilbert has challenged Ebert to sample some of his own magnum opus. Play Monkey Island, really play it, don't have someone that has played it tell you about it, don't get someone to play it for you, don't read about it on Wikipedia, play it and let it swallow you and then tell me it's not art. Ebert has yet to take up Gilbert's offer. The government of communist Vietnam is trying to introduce strict new controls on gaming. The draft legislation from the Ministry of Information and Communications of the Socialist People's Republic of Vietnam would bring in strict licensing of online games and would limit gamers to 3 hours a day on some of the more popular titles. The new law would also prohibit the conversion of in-game items into real-world money. Simple and low-tension games such as chess will be immune to the changes. And Apple Mac gamers, get your download on because Valve's Steam platform will go live for Mac on Wednesday, May 12th. Maybe now they can get more than one button on their mouse.
I've had that for a while.
I've had that for a while. You can cut that off, right?
Good game.
In a world where bland carts ruled, one woman had the courage to take you from bland to brilliant.
With games like Little Big Planet giving players the ability to individually customize and create new and detailed worlds to play in and share online, it was only a matter of time before Sony decided to apply this idea to another genre of gaming.
Racing has been with us from the dawn of time, and for millennia the concept of racing stayed the same. But in 1931, entrepreneur Marcus Ramses Callahan had an idea that would change racing forever.
Well, United Front have stepped up with the same twist on kart racing and come up with ModNation Racers.
Yes, think Mario Kart meets Little Big Planet. It's got all the elements that we know and love about a great kart racing game, but then an added layer of these insanely addictive customization options that will inspire even the most uninventive players with the creative genius of Picasso. Your options seem limitless, and if you're into customization and creativity, then you'll have a field day here.
Yeah, I mean, I love a good kart racer at the best of times, but Mario's classic formula was so great that it's hard to turn out a game to rival its gameplay. But here, you have the freedom to customize everything, from the kart you race in, to the tracks you race on, and your driver. The art and design of the game is excellent too, inspired by the DIY and designer vinyl toy scene, and the end result really looks like a work of art too, rather than just a slightly customized avatar.
Yes, you can go with a traditional theme or completely run amok and create the most insane looking character you can, like my weird one-eye Cyclops guy. What did you end up with?
Oh, my favourite so far is Hex Bunny. Underpants on the outside.
Right, well you start with over 50 skins to choose from the abstract to the fabric-inspired. There are hundreds of mouths, noses, eyes, props, clothing items, helmets and stickers to truly make your racer an individual, with even more to unlock in the career mode, or you can just hit random and see what the great gaming god of randomization serves up on a plate for you.
Who's your favorite uncle? I am, because I'm gonna make you rich, like me, Uncle Richard.
The career has a pretty basic story to dust off your racing skills, but mostly you'll just be playing this for the unlocks. I need that pirate ship steering wheel, Barjo. As you progress through, you can keep switching up your racers and drivers. I found it nearly impossible to stay with the same car for long when there were so many customizations to try.
Kart customization delivers a variety of bases, skins, and detailing. I ended up with this sweet cardboard boxmobile. Totally pimp. You do have a budget with kart creation though, so you can't go too crazy too quickly.
I think I probably spent the most time on the track creator. It's sort of reminiscent of the early stages of a city builder, sculpting the terrain with peaks, valleys and rivers, craters and mountains. Then you go about laying a track with the exciting prospect in mind that all these twists, turns and hills you create will be yours to race on when you've finished. You can individually populate the track with singular buildings and details, or you can also auto-populate to speed things along.
It was great how simple the interface was. You don't have to sit through heaps and heaps of tutorials, you can just jump in and start making tracks. Of course, if you want to make something seriously impressive, you will need to spend the time like any sort of user-generated content creation tool. But the payoff is so sweet when you get to race on it at the end. Now we're playing this ahead of launch, so we can't test out any of the online features, but you'll be able to upload your own creations and also use a rating system to filter through the rubbish.
I found that the tracks available to you for customization seem pretty standard though. You know, with all the crazy skins available to you in kart and driver customization, you know, I really wanted to make some rolling candy pink hills or a futuristic Blade Runner styled level, but it was all just seaside and country terrain really, pretty straightforward. Maybe it's just a mod I haven't found yet.
Yes, I can't wait to see those creations online, and mainly because I think that this type of level building is better suited to a kart racing game as opposed to something like Little Big Planet, which was really hard and time-consuming to build anything worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, it's a totally different approach. It's simpler and less about creating puzzles and more about fun, great-looking tracks. There's also a central online area where you can drive around with other players and challenge them to races. Otherwise, just hang at home with friends for some good old-fashioned split-screen action.
The actual racing itself is standard kart racing fare. You can drift, boost, collect items to take out other players. However, items in ModNation are stackable, so if you can hold onto an item for long enough to grab another item bubble, you can upgrade it to something more damaging, like a lightning bolt. The karts handle well too, and the controls are really smooth, but let's wrap this up, Hex.
I like that they've stayed true to the kart racing formula that works, because of course the originality in this game is in the customizing. I can see it being a real hit with families who love to game together. I had a ball, Barjo. I'm giving it 9.
This is the perfect type of game to apply the whole create and share idea to, and I love a game that lets me get creative in the most ridiculous of ways. I'm gonna give it 9 too.
The winner of the tour will earn a parts package sponsored by the Chickenator. Cock-a-doodle-doom.
Don't finish games? What's in your pile of shame?
One of the games that I actually had to put down was Fallout 3, because I played for 6 hours or so, and it was wonderful. But it seemed like there was so much to do, and for me to get to a satisfactory conclusion, I would have been playing this for a week, and so I just didn't have the time. Mass Effect, the first one, I'll get to 2. It appears I can jump into 2 and get more combat quicker, which sounds really cool. But Mass Effect 1 was so huge. I think I had almost like stage fright getting into it, going like, okay, so this is how large it's going to be. So yeah, there's a stack of games I want to get to. Uncharted 2, I've just dipped into, and I need to play that. Assassin's Creed 2 is definitely right up there. Mass Effect 2. I see a common thread here. I'm currently playing Bad Company 2, which is simply awesome. I think the last year in gaming has probably been, we're in the golden age, baby. So it's good.
The FIFA World Cup is still a few weeks away, but EA Sports is already in on the act with their World Cup edition of FIFA 10. But as Blade Runner once taught us, never trust a skin job. So, should we treat this release with suspicion and scorn?
Yes, because we're so used to these spin-offs being just cynical marketing moves. However, I was quite surprised to find that FIFA World Cup 2010 South Africa is a well-polished and really fun celebration of the joy and excitement that is the World Cup. Bit too excited?
Maybe.
The World Cup. First up, you're presented with a glitzy World Cup themed menu, complete with trivia on the Cup's history during the loading screens. Your play options are different, with the choice of playing through all the qualifying rounds as any of the 199 national sides, jumping straight into the group stages and working through to the final, playing as a single player on the pitch in the Captain Your Country mode, which returns from FIFA's UEFA Cup spin-off game, and a new penalty shootout mode that introduces a more refined penalty taking and saving system.
Yeah, I'm not sure the penalty shootout mode really brings that much to the game though. I mean, they're over pretty quickly and it's a bit 50-50 most of the time anyway. The new shooting system requires you to first nail a composure meter as it reaches the safe green zone in the centre. Then release the button when you filled up your power meter while nudging the stick in a direction to aim your shot past the keeper. In practice mode, you can see a blue marker to show where you're aiming, but when it comes to real penalties, you have to guess based on physical memory. You can also put a little balk in your step to see if the keeper commits left or right before slotting home. I really like that there's this much more detail and thought in the penalty system. I'm just not entirely sure it's deserving of its own play mode.
Yeah, it's okay if you like that kind of thing. I think what we really care about is blasting through the World Cup, and the main presentation of this main mode is quite clever. From the confetti-covered arenas to the live ticker at the bottom of the screen, which gives you real-world updates on your favourite team. Then there are the ongoing in-game news items about how your virtual cup is progressing. I did notice, to my dismay, that just before a crucial match in the group stage, my players would injure themselves more easily. They'd be crocking themselves in training left, right and centre, key players too, and I guess it adds more drama and it does make you make full use of all the members in your team, but...
Nice and tropical, can't be back. It's in!
There's more emphasis placed on picking players based on their current form too. Your squad menu lets you assess both an overall ability stat and form rating, so you're not always going to pick a side purely based on raw ability. Out on the pitch, I can't say that I noticed that much of a difference between this and FIFA 10. Perhaps there were some new animations and the ball did seem to curve a bit more through the air with some crosses, but it's been a while since I've played FIFA 10, so it could just be my memory playing tricks.
No, I think you're right. I'm sure there's a few new animations there with the passing and the tackling. Certainly the referees were more lenient this time around. They were often wagging their fingers and giving me stern lectures as opposed to just handing out cards. And I also like seeing the grim faces of the managers on the sidelines because, let's face it, that's a whole sideshow on its own in the World Cup.
The Captain Your Country mode works much like the Be a Pro mode from FIFA 10. You choose to be one player on the pitch and work your way into the manager's good books, earning the captaincy and eventually leading your team to victory in the World Cup after a lot of tough work out on the pitch. If you're looking for a kind of football career mode, this is it, with the ultimate reward of a World Cup in your name at the end of it all. You can, of course, import your custom pro from FIFA 10, which is good.
And that's kind of it, really. From the time we spent online, there didn't appear to be any changes to the multiplayer whatsoever, although I did notice an achievement for 0 points if you quit out of a match 5 times or more. Take that, quitters. You can also check other people's profiles to see if they've unlocked that achievement or not. I like that.
The weird thing about World Cup 2010 South Africa is that FIFA 11 is probably going to come out at the end of this year, so there's not a lot of incentive to buy this game.
Pick the pass nicely. Goals in his sights. Goal! It's a goal they needed. A goal worth celebrating. And how?
If you haven't played FIFA 10, then I'd still recommend that over this, but it's more than just a skin job of World Cup menus. It really captures that feeling and that excitement of the World Cup, and it is exciting for football fans. It's only once every 4 years, and I think they'll get into it, and it's a good game. I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I just feel like it would have made so much more sense to release this as DLC, and I can't understand why it wasn't. But I agree, it's still a good game. I'm giving it 7 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Last year was all about zombies, and this year there appears to be a bit of a cowboy theme happening with Red Dead Redemption just on the horizon and Red Steel 2 just behind us. So we thought we'd take a look at Lead and Gold Gangs of the Wild West. It's a third-person multiplayer shooter available on Steam, coming to consoles as well apparently, and it might remind you of TF2 just a little bit.
Sporting some very crisp models and visuals, good western music and combat roles, you'll be taking on posses across a pretty decent variety of multiplayer modes and maps. There are 4 classes you can play: the gunslinger, whose special talent is an inaccurate rapid-fire pistol; the tough blaster, who's all about short-range, high damage and he likes his dynamite; the deputy, who's a good all-rounder and can tag enemies on the HUD; and the trapper, who traps and is also a sniper.
There are some nice ideas in this shooter. When you're around your teammates, you radiate a synergy effect, which will give them extra damage or extra accuracy. And this means that you really need to stick together and work together as a team, but they don't stack, so you also need a good mix of classes. I like what they did with the rally flag too. You can pick up a flag and then that becomes a spawn point and everyone can spawn on you. But if you die, the flag stays there until an enemy destroys it. And this means you'll often have a case where you kill someone, then the enemy forgets to take the flag and you teach them a lesson in rally point flag removal.
Getting injured sometimes throws you into a last stand, and any team member can revive you while you cover them. There are some pretty brutal moments in this too. Those old guns really pack a punch. Barjo, I could have used a crouch button though.
Yeah, it felt a bit weird without one. The level design is all classic Western locales, and there's plenty of multiplayer modes to keep you happy. Gold Fever is a co-op wave mode, but it's probably one of my least favourite because the AI is so bad. They'll walk into walls and try and revive dead teammates.
Yeah, the other modes are definitely better. Our favourite was Powder Keg, and the lols are you have to transport explosives to an objective point. Of course, your opponents can shoot your red barrel.
Yes, it's quite stressful when that barrel starts sparking and you need to lob it and leg it. The only real problem with this game is the pings, right? We couldn't get a single match under 400, so it's pretty unplayable. The developer is working on dedicated servers and that might help, but right now it's kind of tough to play if you don't have any friends. So I'm giving it 7 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, the pings were horrible, and hopefully will get better as the game gets noticed. We also couldn't get our gamepads to work, which is a shame because I like my third-person shooters with a controller. I'll just hang out for the console version, I think. I'm giving this a 6.5.
Hi, I'm Joel Brooks, and I've got blisters on my fingers. I've held the national title for Guitar Hero since 2008, and I was 15 years old then. I realised I was pretty good at Guitar Hero when my friends started to tell me, maybe you should get out a little bit more, you know, come play with us, go to a movie, that sort of thing. I won the first national title in 2008. I flew to Sydney and competed against 10 or so other players. I expected quite a bit of myself, actually. I had viewed other Australian players online and thought of myself as a bit better than them. And when I got there, there was another guy there about my standard who I played in the final. And we had quite a few good matches that were close. But yeah, I've ended up here. I've represented Australia in just the one competition over the past couple of years. WCG is the World Cyber Games. The experience was absolutely amazing, and that was my first time overseas. I got to stay in a hotel without my mother.
Congratulations, mate, the champ is here!
The styles of play at this high level don't vary very much. There's only a couple of different ways to play the songs that are selected for the competition. There's not much really you can vary it unless you use another technique called squeezing. Squeezing is manipulating the timing window of the song. You activate star power late on the note or early on the note and strum straight after it. You get that amount of points under the new multiplier instead of the old multiplier, which doesn't seem like much, but I've lost a game by 6 points before, so. I think I've been successful playing Guitar Hero because I haven't spent all of the time just by myself playing it. I haven't spent hour upon hour sitting by myself getting worked up over it, which is what a lot of players do. But I've also put in a lot of hours of practice into it, and that's the key to any game or any skill in life, is just practicing. My top 4 tips for Guitar Hero are, tip number 1 is just to relax. Don't get worked up while you're playing. While relaxed, you move your fingers more freely. When you're worked up, you're less likely to be able to concentrate properly, and you're more likely to stuff it up. Tip number 2 is something slightly different and to do with the guitar. It's a technique called tapping. You bring this hand from the strum bar up onto the fretboard, and you would use most commonly the first 2 fingers to hit the notes that you would otherwise not be able to hit with just one hand. This can be used in songs like Through the Fire and Flames and One by Metallica, which has a tapping solo. Tip number 3 is another technique with the guitar. It's alt strumming, strumming up and down instead of just strumming up or down. And it's a lot easier to do this during sections with a lot of fast notes and sections that you can't hit just strumming down one way. Tip number 4 is usage of star power. Instead of lifting the guitar upwards, there's a button down by the strum bar which you can press with the palm of your hand while you're playing. It's a lot more efficient and allows you to be a lot more accurate with the timing of your star power usage. The best advice I can give is that practice makes perfect. However, don't just sit down and play the game all day. Get out and socialise, have a balance in your life. But if you want to be the best of anything, you just have to put in the hard work.
Mad, Ugly, Dirty Television, or MUD TV for short, is a micromanagement game on PC where you play as a young man named Matt, who loves science so much he goes to study it at university.
Matt had an inquiring mind and learned fast.
Only to be thrown out by his professors due to one fatal character flaw. He's evil.
Evil as evil could be.
In a light bulb moment, Matt decides to take over the world through television, so gets his first job as program director. It's a cynical yet comical look at the world of television, but there's some really fun ideas here.
Matt swore he would get revenge, not just on his professors, but on the entire world.
And it kind of reminded me of the good game Office Wars.
The job of a program director is to put shows to air that'll appeal to certain demographics, and then take advertising contracts that'll work with those shows. Each demographic watches a different amount of TV, different shows at different times of the day. Housewives watch a lot of TV around midday, seniors are big on mornings, hippies don't watch much altogether, and emos, who are apparently a demographic now, watch a lot of TV late in the afternoon.
You start the game with very little money, so you'll need to purchase lots of low-budget, ready-made shows to fill up your programming schedule, then take on advertising contracts that don't require too many viewers at once. As the difficulty increases, you'll start to invest in 2-star shows and then eventually generate enough cash to start producing your own.
And to do this, you'll need to build a writer's room and hire employees, and they all have different stats as well. Good directors need to have big egos, writers boast high creativity, an actor needs a lot of charisma, and a good TV host needs to be funny. Getting the right people to work with each other not only makes them work faster, but also the more a person does a job, the more their skills increase. There's just so many variables here, Hex, and there's heaps to think about.
You don't get to act out the shows you make yourself. There just wouldn't be time. You've got to keep an eye on the schedule and the deadlines and make sure no numbers are slipping. You'll also be able to research upgrades for your staff, such as a post-production room that'll add another star to your project, and a newsroom to increase publicity and keep people watching.
There are plenty of times where you just won't get the numbers you need to fulfill a contract, so you'll scramble around for the rest of the day trying to get another show in there or make one in time that you can put to air to satisfy that contract, and you'll pay a hefty fine if you don't do this. Most ads require multiple broadcasts and also only allow you to get the numbers from specific demographics who only watch at certain times of the day, so it requires a lot of forward planning and thinking.
On top of all this, you'll be going up against rival TV networks, and they'll almost always get the best contracts first. Things can really get away from you if they start pulling the market share.
You can always sabotage them or take a sneaky peek at their schedule.
I would have liked some more obvious warnings when a contract was about to fail. I mean, I guess that's part of the game. You're bound to lose some now and then, but it took me a while to get the programming down pat. If you had an advisor to give you hints, it would have just made it a better game. I mean, the way you make money in general is just too punishing. I wanted to spend more time making shows rather than fulfilling contract obligations.
Yeah, and the campaign mode is a baptism of fire.
There is online play too, and a custom mode which allows you to set up your own scenarios, but we couldn't find a match. If the game ever gets enough players, it could be an interesting scramble for ratings, I think.
I liked the nifty character editor, and the program editor is there as well. It's a bit buggy. I think that was the biggest missed opportunity here. If they'd explored those a bit more, it could have really extended the life of the game.
Just to be clear, this is not a game about making TV. It's about fulfilling schedules and contracts as a TV programmer. I thought that there could have been some tweaks or shortcuts to the interface though, Barjo. Clicking the demographic chart, which you'll do often, was a bit fiddly, and sometimes the stats displayed on your screen were missing information or graphical icons. I would have preferred a more polished interface. I'm giving it 6.
Yeah, look, at times I felt like I was working instead of playing, especially really early in the morning when you're trying to get that first show to air and get an ad for it quickly. There's not even enough time for a coffee. But something about this game really got me. The addictive nature of all the programming and watching everything play out, it sucked days away from me. I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Good game.
So, did you guess the game for this week? Okay, you might have had trouble picking it because it's a game that isn't even out yet. It's the reboot of True Crime for Xbox 360 and PS3, which is coming to us from ModNation Racers developer United Front sometime later this year.
That was totally cheating.
I know.
It's Brown Pants at the ready next week with the psychological thriller Alan Wake.
You, plus that story on how to protect your gaming gear from robbers.
You can follow us on Twitter or on Facebook, and don't forget to hit the forums and leave your mark. We live for your banter and lolcats.
Till next time, gamers, may all your games be good ones. Hex out.
Bajo out. Nothing to say. We'll be back next week with the psychological thriller Brown Pants. Sorry.